Hey guys, the Curious Owl here, and today I am doing the characters book tag. This was a tag created by Maria Stanicia, and I think that's how you pronounce her last name, and Jeremy Schenebert. It was a kind of co-creator tag, so I will leave both of their videos down in the description for you guys, and this is basically just talking about some of your favorite characters, so I'm pretty excited. Some of them you might not be surprised by because I tend to talk about them a lot, but let's get started. Question 1 is, who is the best kick-ass character? Ooh, that's a really hard one. There's so many good kick-ass characters that I've loved over the years. I think the last kick-ass character I really loved was honestly Brynn from Arusha and the Song of Death. I just finished this a couple days ago. I finished an early arc that I had gotten from NetGalley, and I really enjoyed her. Like, she was one of those characters where she kind of rubbed me the wrong way at first when I first was reading through this novel, but the further I got in the story, I really started to like her because she kind of has gone through a lot in her life, and I think that she doesn't let it define her, and there's a lot of things about her that rub people the wrong way, but she honestly doesn't give a crap. Like, she really doesn't care how people perceive her because she's only doing what she thinks is best, and whether that is disagreeable between other people, that is their problem. She's just really someone who I think I could look up to. I think that she's just really strong-headed and really smart, and she's just a really interesting character in general. Question 2 is, which character do you most dislike? See, the thing is, I don't dislike characters that often, especially villains, because villains are always villains for some reason or another, and their backstories are usually really interesting. But if I was to pick one character that was a villain that I really didn't like at all, it's a toss-up between Abraham Ravenwood and Seraphine de Kanye, both from the Beautiful Creatures series, because these guys are just rotten to the core, because most villains have a reason as to why they are the way they are, and a lot of it is due to like childhood trauma or something like that that makes them a little bit more compelling and a little bit more sympathetic towards. But Abraham and Seraphine are just both rotten to the absolute core. Seraphine, basically the entirety of the first novel of the Beautiful Creatures series, is just trying to kill her daughter because of the fact that Lena is incredibly powerful and they don't want her involved at all with what's going on in the caster world, so she keeps trying to kill her the entire time. And Abraham, basically throughout the entire series, when you find out what he's doing behind the scenes, it's completely unforgivable and unredeemable that at the point that you get to when you understand what his intention is with, you know, rebuilding the caster world in his image, there's no way you can not dislike him because of the fact that he's just absolutely awful. Like, he's at the point where he's basically like the Voldemort of the Beautiful Creatures series. Question 3 is, if you could date any fictional character, who would it be and why? I discussed this, I think, before, and honestly, the one person I think that I would be comfortable dating as a fictional character would be Ethan Waite from the Beautiful Creatures series, because Ethan is honestly one of the most down-to-earth male characters I've met, and mostly also because any other male fictional character that I would want to be involved with is in some kind of danger, and I don't want to put myself in danger. Ethan at least has some sense of normalcy at most points in the Beautiful Creatures series, and you know, sometimes his adventures are kind of fun. Like, they're sometimes dangerous, but they're not so dangerous where I don't feel like he wouldn't protect me. Question 4 is, if you could change a character in any way, what would it be? Oh my gosh, I'm going to be talking about Beautiful Creatures all day today, aren't I? I am so sorry, but every character that's coming up in this tag is a Beautiful Creatures character. So I think that the one character I would really want to change a lot would be Ridley, because Ridley is just one of those characters where she's so flippant, and I really got annoyed by that in my reread series. Like, I remember how flippant she was when I first read it in high school and I didn't like it, but I was reminded in my reread series that I did of it last year that it was just so obnoxious how flippant she was the entire time, because she would go from being a really nice girl to being like absolutely evil and wanting to kill everybody. And just the way that she also would treat Link, who is kind of like her on-again, off-again boyfriend in the series, it just didn't seem fair. Like, it wasn't fair to him to be in the middle of that position despite how much he cared about her, and I just felt like she could have just been somebody so completely different, and I just wish she would have been a lot nicer of a person. But to be completely honest, if that was to happen, then she wouldn't be Ridley. Question 5 is, what character to you made all the wrong choices that didn't add anything to the book? That's a really hard question because I can't think of anyone off the top of my head that seemed to make a lot of wrong choices that didn't add anything to the book. Like, every character I've come across that makes bad choices actually adds to the book because it either adds conflict or it causes, you know, certain scenes to happen that are then righted. Those wrong choices are righted. So I really can't think of an answer for this, to be completely honest. Question 6 is, which character was the best villain whom you'd love to hate? This one I always go back to the Darkling from the Grisha trilogy. Now, mind you, I've only read the first book in the series, and mostly because my sister has the series and I had borrowed it from her. But when I read Shadow and Bone, I think it was last year, I really loved the Darkling as a morally gray character, and a character that, you know, everyone talks about how they love to hate him because of the fact that he is so vile, but at the same time, he's incredibly charming. I don't feel like I have the kind of romantic connection that a lot of people have with the Darkling, but I really appreciate the craft of the character from Leigh Bardugo's perspective, because I feel like she's really crafted him in the first book specifically to be this really interesting guy that's incredibly compelling and you think is going to be doing things the right way and is actually trying to help, and then at the last second just kind of like pulls him back and is like, psych, he's an actual asshole kind of thing. Like, I really love it when authors do that, because it always sets me up for, oh, this is an entire series that's gonna basically keep me on my toes and nothing is as it seems. And I just really think that the Darkling is the best representation of that kind of a character within that kind of a story. I don't know, just something about him always makes me really interested in him. Like, I want to know more about him because I want to understand why he is the way he is, and I really love to hate this character. Question 7 is your favorite sidekick character with the most heart. I really think Hermione is one of my favorite sidekick characters because despite the fact that everyone kind of looks down on her for the fact that she's a bit of a know-it-all, she has, I think, the most heart. Now, Ron could be a really close second to that because Ron also has a lot of heart. He has a lot of love in his heart, I think, for Harry and especially Hermione. But Hermione, I think, really, she has the most heart in the sense that I think she uses her brain as her heart at the same time. Like, I feel like those two things are connected, whereas most people, it's separated for them. Like, Hermione thinks with her heart, and that drives her brain to think and to think on her feet and understand situations quickly so that she can help her friends because she cares about them so much. And I think that that is really portrayed a lot in the Deathly Hallows. Like, I really think that that is the moment where you really see Hermione being like the ultimate best friend and really being there for her friends. She's there pretty much from the very beginning, but you don't, I think, see that connection between heart and brain until the Deathly Hallows. And I really felt like with that read that I did in 2018 of that, I really saw that, and I think that it's now something I can't not think about because Hermione has always been one of my favorite characters, but I think I've grown to appreciate her more because I really think that she is somebody that is incredibly underrated, and she deserves way more, you know, thought on the fact that she actually is pretty much the best friend you could ever ask for, in my opinion. Question 8 is, what is your favorite fictional romantic relationship? Ethan and Lena, hands down. It is one of my favorite relationships I've ever come across in fiction because it is incredibly organic. And what's weird about it is that it almost has an insta-love kind of idea to it. And I realized that in my reread that towards the beginning of the series, basically the very beginning of the first book, you find out that they have this kind of mental link between each other and they don't understand why. And that's kind of the reason why Ethan becomes involved with her, because he wants to understand why. From the very beginning, you know, he has feelings for her. He starts to think that she's really attractive and interesting, but it's an organic relationship because over the course of that first book, which is almost an entire year, they really start to get to know each other, and as they're trying to figure out answers to this question of why they are connected and why they are, you know, so enwrapped within each other, they really start to build a beautiful relationship, and that relationship is tested over the course of the series multiple times, and they just keep coming back to each other. And it's not that they keep breaking up and coming back to each other, it's just that when they're torn apart by the events that happen in the story, they always find a way back to each other. And I think it is incredibly sweet and romantic to be in that kind of a position with that relationship because of the fact that it really brings home the fact that despite the worst hardships that a couple can go through, if they truly love each other, they will find a way back to each other. And it's just one thing that I always keep in my mind, because that is a relationship I have not really found in many other stories that have those kinds of romantic relationships where I feel that strongly for the relationship because of those kind of dynamics. Question 9 is, what character did you think was the strongest? Honestly, I think the most physically strong character I've read to this point is Bryn from Arusha in the Song of Death. Now, if we want to talk mentally strong, that is a whole other can of worms. Like, there are so many characters that I think just suffer. Like, every story in YA especially, there's always a main character suffering. I think the strongest though would have to be Triss from the Divergent series by Veronica Roth, because from the very beginning she proves to everybody that she is not one to be messed with. She is one that is willing to put herself out on the line for people, and she's not willing to compromise her values just to satisfy the will and the desire of others. And from the very beginning, you really see her grow, in especially Divergent. You see her grow as a character, not just in strength, but in mental strength, because she understands that when things start to go awry, that things are going to go awry very quickly, and she has to be the one that's really leading this kind of almost like revolution in a way because of the nastiness that is going on in this world. So I really think that Triss is one of my favorite strong characters when it comes to mental strength, because just from the very beginning you see how she is, and you understand that she only has more strength to develop, and she continues to develop it the entire series. And I really just appreciate her as a female character, because I feel like she really just exemplifies everything about strength. Question 10 is the best protagonist. That is a very hard question because I love a lot of protagonists. Every protagonist I've come across, for the most part, has been one that I've really enjoyed, but oh God, to pick one of them is just so impossible because they all have such great strengths and weaknesses that, you know, envelop their character throughout the entire series. I will say though that I think my newest favorite protagonist is going to be Arusha from the Pandava stories by Roshani Chokshi. Aru is incredibly naive. She's 12 years old at the beginning of the first book, Arusha and the End of Time, but she really, you know, I think in that first book, and especially in book 2, The Song of Death, she really grows and understands that, you know, things are a lot more dire, especially when she finds out that she is what's called a Pandava, which is basically like she's taken on the soul of an incredibly old Hindu god, basically, and she's kind of like a demigod in that sense. And I think that within that first book, she goes from being this really meek character who's just trying to impress everybody to being a girl that is just, you know, wanting to do the right thing, and she really starts to understand what the right thing is for her, and she really just opens my eyes to understanding that, you know, despite the fact that most teenage girls are really dumb in a lot of ways, they have the biggest heart when it comes to the people they care about. And the last question is, who do you tag? I don't tag people in these videos because, for one, I don't know how old this tag is, nor do I know who all has done it. But if you would like to do this tag yourselves, I always leave the questions in the description for you guys to check out. Otherwise, you can leave your answers down in the comments below if you would like to share them with me. And as always, if you guys did enjoy this video, please do give it a big thumbs up. And if you're not already and you'd like to be, hit the button down below and subscribe to become an owlet in our flock. And I will see all of you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.